and it will give you the data. So hold the measurement and just wait.
Sam, break this thing down for us.
So this, Tyler, is a Tikka. This is my NRL Hunter setup. So there's lots of different ways to set up precision rifles. I tend to like a lighter rifle, okay. Partially because I've been shooting a lot of NRL Hunter, which requires you to stay under 16 pounds. Also, because in PRS and some of the other matches I've shot, you have to do lots of transitioning, moving from one part of a barricade to another. That's a lot easier with a lighter rifle. There's pros and cons to each. This particular rifle build is a lighter rifle.
So you shoot hunter matches?
Hunter matches, yep. Yep, and so there's some gear I can show you a little bit later about that I use for that. But specifically for the rifle, I've been running this Tikka. Yep. So it's just a stock Tikka action. Stock Tikka action that I dropped into this KRG chassis. Real similar to the Tikka we have in the shop right now. Yep. I swapped out the barrel because I burnt the factory barrel out. Tikka factory barrels are actually very good. Once you run 3,000 rounds of 6.5 through it, it's time to swap out the barrel. You start getting velocity shifts and a lot less heat resistance. I started noticing as well. So I went with a carbon fiber barrel from Proof. There's a lot of drama, we'll say.
I was about to ask about carbon fiber barrels, to be honest. I've heard about that.
There's a lot of drama about carbon fiber barrels on the internet. Your mileage may vary. I think a lot of the conflict comes down to what are you using it for. So in a hunter stage, the most I'm going to shoot is 8 rounds. Okay. And that's if I miss every round, which I'm not going to say hasn't happened. But I have not noticed significant heat shift even running a can on the end off of 8 rounds on this. Now what I have noticed is with Proof carbon barrels, at least in my small sample size, I will get no heat shift right up until the point where I get a ton of heat shift. And that usually happens at about 15 or 16 rounds within a 2-minute period. Okay. How often you're doing that in a precision rifle roll? That may vary depending upon your application. Yep. Right. So I've been running a 22-inch 6.5 Proof barrel, very light barrel, very fast barrel. So I'm getting a lot of good velocity off this. I've been running a Silencer Co. 36M Omega off the front. Not the fanciest suppressor, but it gets the job done. I did switch at the mid. So one of my rules for matches is don't switch gear mid-season. I frequently break.
Samuel has a lot of rules.
It's usually because I've done these things and they've gone badly. The one thing that has gone well is I switched to a Leupold MK5 midway through the season. A very lightweight optic, but really good clarity and light transmission off of this. So like that, yeah, and that's kind of the setup. I run only other thing I run in there is a level. You can spend up to $300 on a level. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that as long as the gun is level, I don't care. And so this is a $20 level that I've got on there. There's other bipods out there, but this is just an Atlas bipod. I like running the tall ones because the 6-inch shorts are great for range work or places where you got really low grass like around here. Yep. But in hunter matches, you don't always know what you're walking into. So you might be shooting up in the mountains of Wyoming, or you might be shooting down in Georgia somewhere where you got a lot of underbrush. So I find that at least in those matches, I usually start at 9 inches of bipod, and then like being able to run it down to like I think it's 14 inches. Okay. So that opens up a lot of opportunities if you got tall grass or things you're going to be shooting around.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
Some guys, again, there's lots of money you can spend on a bipod if you want. Some guys run something called triple pull, and some people online are laughing right now because they know what triple pulls are. But it's essentially a $900 tripod, and you can pull it 3 times. So you can get 36 inches of height off of it and shoot seated behind it.
Oh, dang. Okay.
So it's heavier, it's more expensive, everything's trade-ups.
Yep.
So, yep. So in hunter matches, how I usually run my data, because hunter matches are the targets are blind, so we don't know what we're dealing with until we get on the stage. We have to find them, range them, and then engage them in a 4-minute time period. So you can get your binoculars or your laser rangefinder or your Kestrel to give you the data. So here we have some Vortex Furies. We've been playing around with them at the range here today. I've run these for 2 seasons. These they're a good balance of cost and lasing ability. These have the onboard ballistic computer.
Very nice.
I personally don't ever use that because I think it's a little too slow, even on some of the ones that have a faster processor, some other models. What I will do is I'll run these in a chest rig. I'll ground my backpack, ground my gun, take out my tripod, throw these on my tripod, get the range, and as soon as I find the range, I'll circle it on my arm board.
Okay.
And then mark which target it is.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so then when it comes time to shoot, I'll just, with dry erase marker on my arm board, I'll have all my here. I get this off of my Kestrel the night before in those conditions.
Yep.
Because it's going to be different based upon altitude, temperature, all sorts of different factors.
Well, that was interesting too, even at the Haley class, of how much even each day shifted 0 just a little bit compared to lighting conditions, weather, humidity, all those things, and just a little bit, what we're doing in the Haley class. So this is a big deal. Yeah,
especially if you go up to different altitudes. So one of the matches I shot was in Price, Utah, altitude of, I think it was 8,000 feet.
Okay.
And so we're at like 1,100 right here, I think, or 900, 13. We're at 1,300 here, and so this gun actually had the equivalent of gaining 4 inches of barrel length in performance out there.
Wow.
So my wind, not only my data became different, my wind calls became different because of how much more it was bucking the wind in that thin air. So yeah, that's a big deal.
Wow.
It used to be that when someone wanted to get into long range shooting, for those who are kind of interested in it, that you had to buy one of these, Kestrel, because these were some of the only ways to get ballistics information. Kestrels are great for getting atmospheric information right now. So Kestrels are great for gathering atmospheric info, and you can still use them, certain models, to get the ballistics information. But I wouldn't say you need to buy this right away. Now there's some free apps out there, like the Hornady 4DOF app, that will give you the same ballistics info that these will give you without the $600 price tag. So I still use this because it's a lot of atmospherics I can gather live from it. But if you're just getting into it and you don't want to put out all the money on that, I would say start with your phone, get the Hornady 4DOF app, maybe get a cheaper Kestrel that just feeds you the atmospheric info, because you can plug that into the app manually. And then if you decide you want to do this down the road more seriously, you can get one of these.
Yeah.
One thing that is worth the money is some sort of chrono.
Look at that little guy.
So this is a Garmin chrono.
Yeah.
And you have probably seen some video of these at our matches for the long range match.
Yep, we had those out for the, we had that one out for the marksman match and everybody was using it, and that thing's futuristic.
Yeah, so this is a chrono, lots of different chronos out there. Somebody was describing the one I sold Joe as a medieval chrono. Chronos.
It might be, I'm not sure.
Chronos measure how fast the bullet is going downrange, and that's important data to plug into your ballistics computer, whether it be this or your phone, so that it can run the right numbers to tell you what your holdovers are going downrange. Because you were mentioning that as you watch the bullet go through, we're shooting out to 900 here, as Tyler watched the bullet, he could actually see it arc up and then come back down and hit the target.
Wild experience.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, so the computer does the math on where the bullet's going to be during that travel the entire time, right? And in order to do that math, it needs to know how fast that bullet is traveling, among other variables. These essentially get you that information. There's lots of different ones. There's some that start at 100, like the one second-hand one I sold Joe. That uses light as the bullet travels over 2 pieces of glass to see how fast the bullet's going.
Yep.
The Garmin's use radar, you basically just take them out, set them next to the gun, and every time you shoot, a number pops up on screen.
Radar and magic.
Radar and magic, yep. It also syncs with your phone, so it sends all of the data to your phone, so it can track on this 10-round string.
Dang.
What was our standard deviation, what was our extreme spread.
Yeah.
And then you can even tell how heavy the bullet is, and it will give you numbers on foot-pounds of energy, kinetic energy, both at the muzzle and all the way downrange.
That's wild.
So, yeah. So these, some sort of chrono is a necessity if you're going to be doing long-range shooting. these are not the cheapest game in town, but bang for your buck, these are tough to beat.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yep. So gun, scope, some sort of ballistics computer. Doesn't need to be this, it can be your phone. And then some sort of rear bag. This is just a pint-sized game changer from Armageddon. Lots of rear bags, but basically used for stabilizing the gun when you're shooting prone, or for laying down before you shoot off of a barricade or a rock or some sort of other obstacle. Is that's kind of the baseline starting place.
And like most things in this industry, I'm sure people have very strong opinions over bags. So we won't even get into it.
Yeah, I had a lot of bags, and you saw on the classifieds group that I sold many of my other ones.
Yes.
So I found one that I like, and like I said, it's a matter of finding what you like, what works for you. Some people like to run a ton. I run one for 95% of all I do now. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, should we shoot?
Let's shoot.
Cool.
So no, one more. Yep, just right at that, because that middle one, yeah, they're point ones. Yep, exactly. Yeah. All right, so we're going underneath the 3.
7.
Underneath the 7. Roger that. Stand by.
All right. So this is a sweet gun.
Thanks.
What would you say is like the top 3 things someone needs to do if they want to kind of get into this?
So the first thing I would do is I would take the rifle I have on hand before going and buying anything, and try to stretch the distance out beyond what you're comfortable. So for some people that's going to be 500 or 600 yards. For some people that might be 200 or 300 yards. You can use that to kind of learn about the ballistics, some wind drift, things like that. Once you've decided you like that, then I would get a bolt gun. If you wanted to continue pursuing down the road, I'd get a bolt gun and go to some matches. It wouldn't necessarily be a PRS match to start out with.
Yeah.
But Minnesota is good in that we have some matches that are good beginner matches. The Surveyor Marksman is a good place to begin.
Yeah.
You could before even going out and buying any more gear, you could take an AR you can buy at the store, or one you probably have. Stretch the distance out to 400, 500, 600 yards, something that you maybe have never shot an AR at before. Get a feel for it.
Yeah.
There are some other bolt gun specific intro matches around the cities. Harris does one, the Princeton Gun Club does some, and those are a good thing to start out with too. When you really want to start getting into stretching longer ranges, you have to spend a lot of money on a gas gun if you want to do it with a gas gun. So a bolt gun is probably going to be the next piece of gear you buy. And like I said, like the Tikka we got in the shop, Savage makes some good ones. Even the Ruger American rifle, the Gen 2, I've heard really good things about. Much like ARs, the bolt guns that are out there today are substantially better than the bolt guns that were out there 10 years ago.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what are some like basic guns that you've seen at matches? Because like there's a lot of people that look at your setup, or a lot of people that will look into it and they go, oh, I need X amount of thousands of dollars. What's the more basic guns that you've seen out there?
So believe it or not, my gun, even though it looks cool, is one of the more basic guns.
Really?
Yeah, yep. So that's one of the things, like at any match, right? Don't go there and get intimidated by the most expensive piece of kit you see. This Tikka, the first time I took it to a match, I had just dropped into, I had spent $1,000 on the Tikka, $400 on the stock, and then I had a scope I had laying around and put on top of it. I took it to a PRS match, took second.
Oh, check that out. Yeah.
So these rifles, what we consider off-the-shelf rifles, are very competent rifles right now. So the Tikkas are great. I'm not a huge fan of the stock Tikka stock. So what I did was I bought a $1,000 Tikka, took the stock off and the mags with it because I don't like the stock mags. I sold those on eBay for 150 bucks. I put that towards a $400 ARG chassis and a $80 AICS mag. And that's what I ran at that match. And so for roughly, $1,300 all in, plus the scope. That's what I was running.
Yeah.
That's a cheap way to do it. Ruger, they make a Ruger precision rifle. That's not too bad. The Bagars aren't too bad. The Savages aren't too bad. My first precision rifle that I ran was a Savage. They're very accurate guns. The action smoothness leaves something to be desired.
Yep.
And so it's funny because purists will mock them, but accuracy-wise, they will shoot with the high-end guns.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I mean, so we just finished up the PCSL 2-gun series.
Yep.
The guy who took second in that was running a stock 320.
Yeah.
And he was shooting against 30 guys who were running 2011s. 2011s are great,
Yep.
but they're not going to make you a better shooter if you don't have the skills to begin with.
For sure.
Right? So second and third, not saying this is the meta, but we were both running 320s. We were both running URGI gas guns.
So, okay, any last closing thoughts? And I think the only thing that I could add is just get out and shoot.
Yeah, shoot. Yep.
Get out, sign up for something, and go do it.
Yep. Yep. Have the humility to be okay with being crushed the first couple times you do it.
Yep.
And just stick with it and use those experiences as learning experiences. So,
Yeah. For sure.
So.
No, that's awesome. Well, there's our long range clinic by Samuel Schmitt himself, or if you know him really well, his name is Dad. So we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome.